This is Raft, an oceanic survival game that can be played solo or multiplayer. It's a game I've been wanting to play for a long time, and when we were told to review a game new to us, I used it as the excuse to finally bite the bullet and buy it on Steam. I just wish I'd done it a week earlier when it was on sale. This game was developed as a part of a school project by 4 university students in Sweden. After posting a rough version of it online, it became popular among streamers. They decided to make a go of it, formed a game company, and released a beta version on Steam. With no explanation, tutorial, or guidance, you find yourself on a tiny raft. You're holding in your hand a small hook connected to a rope. All around you is floating junk: plastic, leaves, wood, barrels, etc. You throw the hook to catch materials. Like most survival games, you use these resources to craft tools to advance your progress through the game, and just to stay alive. Each character has 3 health meters, one for hydration, one for hunger, and one for health. So, is there any learning taking place in this game? I think so. Let me share a few things I think could be considered learning. The first thing I noticed when this game started is that there were no instructions, tutorials, or in-game directions. It was you on a raft in the ocean. I think much of the tutorial system is left out because the game draws heavily upon survival gameplay mechanics. So, in this sense, it's related to learning because it draws upon previous learning, information, and skills, reactivating previous knowledge and learning, thus reinforcing those ideas and concepts. Throughout the game, there are opportunities to develop problem-solving skills. You are presented with limited resources, limited space, and limited crafting options. You have to learn how to make do with what you have. This problem-solving practice also turns into both development of collaboration and communication skills when you factor in multiplayer mode. I think it is a mistake to ignore the value of these 3 skills developed often in games, as they play a huge role in success throughout all parts of life. I do think it's important to not overstate the learning experiences here. The more I played, I realized that some key tips would pop up with descriptions of what I needed to do to craft specific tools. These hints or cues remind me of what Linderoth said: successful performance in gaming doesn't necessarily have to do with learning. Video games, much like the key tips I see in this game, have built-in tips to push you on to succeed. As I played the game, I could not help but do so while looking through the lens of Bogos's book. I could see several different topics from his book popping out, but for the sake of this review, let me just mention 2. The first is transit. Within this game, you are constantly in transit, while at the same time you're stuck in one spot. Your player is floating through the ocean. As you move, your character's movement is actually very limited. You begin with a pallet-sized raft that through gathering and crafting you can make larger. Eventually you can get out in the water and swim a bit, but you don't want to stay long because there's a shark that's always around. In this way, you're always in motion, but you don't really move. This plays well to communicate to the player feelings of being stuck while at the same time traveling great distances and experiencing the vast oceanscape. This dichotomy creates within the player a strange sensation of freedom and constraint at the same time. The second theme from Bogos that was dominant in Raft was empathy. When I started my gameplay, I felt very weak, very alone. After a short time, the music cuts out and it was just me, the ocean, the constant stream of junk, and the shark that was constantly gnawing at my feet. As it became nighttime, there was fear. It was harder to see things, and at the same time, my character was getting weaker and weaker. I had not prioritized getting water or food. I was too busy trying to keep the shark from eating my raft. As I got weaker and weaker, my vision blurred. I felt more panic, trying to catch the pieces I needed to craft a water purifier. In my panic, I dipped my cup that I had crafted into the ocean and drank some ocean water. This just drained my water meter even more. I felt helpless. In the middle of the night, only by the light of the moon, I struggled to make a water purifier. As soon as I did, I placed it on my tiny raft. But then, in the dark, I could not figure out how to use it. My vision continued to blur. Panic was encompassing me. And then, I died. As a player, I felt deep empathy for my character, and can see how a game like this could be used to help players feel empathy for those who are powerless over their situations. You really get lost in this world. There is a strong magic circle. Time passes in the real world so quick while you are just struggling to stay alive. There are other game modes to deal with difficulty levels. I left it on normal to get a real feel. It's hard to survive.